Good morning, everyone. Oh my goodness. It is 7:30 a.m. Cotton Cuts time. I am coming to you live from Sonoma, California today. It is so early here, but I am so happy to be joining you guys. As much as I would love to say this is real, this is actually our backdrop here. We are at the hotel and there are so many beautiful courtyards, but it is a cloudy day here and they're so dark, but we still wanted to bring you the joy from all the vineyards of where we are. Good morning. Yes, Deb Jean, don't forget to thumbs up and like this video, subscribe, do all the awesome YouTube things that you guys are doing. Del Marie, I see you were checking in from Northern California. So are we this morning. It is a beautiful day here in Sonoma. Our group has been here since Tuesday. Yes, Jana, I am in your time zone, so I'm feeling 7:30 a.m. If you guys can believe it or not, we have 22 quilters that have joined us for this retreat here in Sonoma, and there's about 7 of them that are already in there sewing. They're getting their day started. They are up early. They are catching that early worm, and they're sewing their projects. Today, Diane just checked in. Diane is actually one of the people that's in the room sewing this morning. If you guys can believe it, today we're going to have a live in-person puzzle mystery quilt experience with our quilters here in Sonoma. So every hour on the hour, we are going to be releasing a new clue. And by the end of the day, they will have all 9 clues needed to solve the mystery tomorrow. We'll have a great reveal and it'll be an all different design for these quilters. It is going to be so much fun. Last night, we got to meet everyone in our welcome reception, and I am blown away by the incredibly smart women that we have gathered here with us. We have accountants, we have scientists, we have attorneys. We have a lot of awesome people that have gathered with us this weekend from a lot of different backgrounds. Like I put out after the end of the New Orleans retreat, I'm always amazed and surprised about the diversity in quilting. And, you know, we're seeing it here. I am inspired by the women around me. They are so much fun. And in 48 hours, we're all going to be bestest of friends. And so I cannot wait. And of course, they opened those highly coveted swag bags yesterday, and the oohs and ahs were just contagious. It was so much energy. This is why we do these events, gangs. And if you have not had a chance to join us for one, you need to put the dates for next year on your calendar. It is so much fun. All right, Tishua is saying she's in the NICU with her new grandson. And good morning, Tishua. I hope everything's okay with your grandson. My oldest Lincoln spent some time in the NICU as well. And, you know, he's now like 6'2" and an awesome athlete. So I hope everything goes okay with your grandson. All right. So let's get to the topics. So normally we would start with questions that have been submitted by you guys. However, this week's whole show is questions that have been submitted by you guys. So Paula sent me over all the questions. There's a lot of really good ones here, gang. So if you have a question as we're talking along and you want to know more, this is the time. I am opening the kimono. You guys can ask me literally anything you would like, and I will happily share it with you. So let's start first with what's going on in the shop this week. So I will, in full disclosure, let you know I have not been in the shop at all this week. And so I am taking this on good authority from Paula as to what has shipped this past week. But I'm going to start with the big one, which was yesterday's big reveal of the Mystery 50 Aloha quilt design. You guys, this design was so much fun to make. It was so much fun to show you. I cannot believe the colorways. We get to pick those colorways, and I love the 5 colorways that were chosen for this. I love that you guys were able to get them all sewn together. It was so fantastic to see that big reveal and to see how much you guys loved it as well. I love that highly positive reaction and that feedback. We had 2 of the designs here in the retreat room yesterday, and people were laying them out. Amy Campbell has her Kona Eclipse all laid out, has all of her parts and pieces. You guys, that is a fun project. I am so glad you guys loved it. As you know, it's the first time we've done that program with the Mystery 50 team. And so I know it's not going to be our last, which leads me to island hopping, which will be the next Mystery 50. You guys are going to start to see colorways coming out from us here in about the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then by the end of this month, it's going to go live again. And so this is the stream. It's like they're quarterly. So they're going to keep coming out to you. It's a totally different design, totally different process, all different shapes, all different fabric collections. So stay tuned. If you like the first one, you're going to love the second one. All right. So what did they ship? So Clue 2 of Under the Sea shipped last week. I see people leaving comments that you guys have already gotten those. That's fantastic. I am with the holiday. If mail is moving fast, I am in love with it. That is fantastic. I did see a lot of you guys go into the evidence locker and start posting your clues on Friday. That is fantastic as well. Don't forget the new design derby is posted there. And so there are actually 4 design derbies that have been released because we did Clue 1 and 2 together. Those are fun. I cannot wait to see how you guys interpret the drawing directions. Yesterday I had a chance. I already mentioned Amy. I'm going to mention her again because she's actually inside this room sewing here. And she said one of the reasons why she really likes quilting is because she doesn't know how to draw. And so I feel like this is a good pushing her outside her comfort zone to see if she can draw the pictures based upon the prompts. Now, guys, I want to keep it simple. Don't overthink it. I think I told you last time that to make sure that for the first one, it's a house. So keep it really simple. Don't try to overthink it. Jana's asking if there's any lessons learned from the first Mystery 5.0 that will form how the second one will be done. So I think for me, right, we tried to really hold true to the Mystery 5.0 program. And a lot of the instructions that were provided, especially those pressing those seams open, is one of those things that as we look at the next design, I'm going to take some kind of making things easier for you guys as much as we can. So some of those things I'm going to try and smooth out, just because I'm a quilter. I know how much fun it is to open seam press 96 parts and pieces. And so we're going to try to make them as user-friendly as possible. I know that there's a lot of like the traditional kind of thinking is pressing those seams open to reduce bulk, but because of the way our parts are die cut, you don't necessarily have to do that because the dog ears are taken away. I know for the next design, the 2 different layouts, one of them calls for an inch wide finished sashing. You guys, we're not going to do that. I want to be perfectly honest. Inch wide sashing with cornerstones is something that we are going to take out of our design, and we're going to do 2 different layouts with the same base block. So I can give you that hint that, it's one of these, I want to make sure it's still fun and enjoyable and can be accomplished in the time that you guys are sewing it. And so, but at the same time, we are always open to suggestions from you guys. So if there is something that you saw and you want to make it better, I love to hear from you guys. I love if you guys liked the colorways, if you didn't like the colorways, if it was too many. I mean, this was a real choose your own adventure. So everyone's quilt is going to be different. If you liked that, say something and share it. If you didn't like it, you guys can definitely provide us feedback and we will go from there. So, oh my goodness. So we were told, Rebecca said she might come out and say hi to everyone. So Rebecca is coming and she has, is this a pillowcase,
it's
Rebecca?
A
everyone. Yeah, we're right here. This is Rebecca, everyone.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. And so
we all have the pleasure for the next 4 days to sit here with Kim and everybody else. There's about 25 of us ladies just sewing away. And here's what we all thought we really, really wanted was, sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
This way.
Yeah. Okay.
A cotton cut pillowcase. How exciting would that be? And then when you make your blanket, you store it in the pillowcase,
yes,
which is the same theme. So this is what we are asking our friend. And we all have brand new best friends here.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank
yes.
you.
Okay. So as I was just saying, that was a fantastic segue, Rebecca. We listen to you guys, right? And if you guys have suggestions, we would love it. So I am going to pass this on to Paula. Paula, congratulations. You are now in charge of figuring out how to do pillowcases for all of our projects and our programs. But in all seriousness, you guys, if you have ideas, if there's things that you love, Jean is saying she loves the variety and freedom to choose her own layout, right? That might be super exciting for some, but also super constraining for others. Just let us know. We want to make these programs as enjoyable for you guys as much as we can. And of course, Mystery 5.0 is one of those ones. The program is being run by another company, but we have the option and the flexibility to make it work well for you guys. And we want to make sure that you guys love it. And we'll be adding pillowcases to the list. So fantastic. Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you, Diane. I don't think I don't know where that idea came from. All right. Where were we? So we were talking about Clue 2. That is out the door. That is fantastic. Don't forget to get your design derbies in. We're giving away gift certificates. And if you guys make it all the way to the end and do all 20 of the derbies, you'll be entered to win a free PMQ. It's really not that hard, guys. Draw pictures and we'll give you a free PMQ. We'll enter to win it. So we love giving stuff away. That is kind of what we do around here. Mystery 50. So what is coming now? So Clue 8 for Flyaway is going to ship this Friday, guys. 8. And it's one of these, I was here at the retreat and someone was saying they brought all their Flyaway clues. And I was like, so surely you brought through 8. My brain is already on the reveal for it, which is coming up on November 7th at 1 o'clock. Mark your calendars, November 7th at 1 o'clock. I'm already onto the reveal and I completely forgotten. You guys haven't even gotten your Clue 8s yet. Those are going to ship on Friday. They'll be in the evidence locker tomorrow. Janice saying Rosa Recommends was a great addition. Yes. And I feel like that was kind of a miss on our part was, hey, it's very simple. Just divide your lights and your darks. Just do that. And, you know, some of those colorways, there's a lot of subtle and nuances to it. And so I think I liked adding the freedom of if you want to do lights and darks and do your thing, but then also here's a guide to get to the designs that we created when we designed all the colorways. So I think that was a fantastic idea. Where am I at here? Okay, so, but we're always thinking ahead. And so we're gearing up for that new island hopping, which is coming soon. The team in the shop is cutting 9 and they're cutting 10 and they're doing border kits and they're doing stitch it border kits. And it is all sorts of big projects going on. And it's one of these, I just want to make sure that like these guys are working ahead in the shop to make sure that everything stays on time for you guys and making sure that everything is done to the highest quality standards. That is something we hold very near and dear to our heart because we want to make sure you guys are happy and you guys are happy the first time. Okay, let's see. And so, of course, they're doing a ton of other stuff as well in the shop. I just can't see it, but I know they are all working very, very hard. I get my little daily what's going on, and they are doing awesome. Okay, so for today, since we are remote and since we are on some pretty shaky hotel Wi-Fi right now, what we wanted to do was do an Ask Me Anything. So this is an opportunity for you guys to ask any questions that you possibly have and possibly put forth suggestions for pillowcases. And I'm going to answer it because that's the way it works. And so I think we'll take maybe 10 or 12 questions. I have the list in front of me. It is a long list. If we don't get to your question today, I promise we will get to your question at a future show. Or if you have a question, and you can just go ahead and put it into the comments and I will ask it here. Kim is saying on the Mystery 50, it would be nice to see at least one quilt in a second setting. Yes, and I feel like we gave it to our teammates and we let them make the quilt that would make them the happiest. And it like they were done and we're like, wait, we kind of missed the second layout. So that's why we added the pictures to the group of the second layout. And I've seen some quilts in the second layout in the group as well that were beautiful. And I think we all gravitated towards the one that looked hard. And in the video, I talked about how Dominic said I was working harder to make the center design that blows out, but actually it's the same design, just rotated blocks. All right. First question comes to us from Tishua, who is actually in the hospital with her grandbaby, from Spring Hill, Florida, says, not a question, but more like tips. I think a lot of us could use more tips on how to keep from distorting our PMQ pieces, because sometimes the fabric pieces are already a tad bit wonky. It happens. Also, when they don't get wonky, sometimes I have problems with having a valley when ironing because I'm trying so hard not to distort them. Any suggestions? Okay. So for everyone out there, I know we've got a lot of very seasoned PMQ detectives. How do you keep your parts true to shape and true to form? Tishua, actually, I sewed 2 PMQs last weekend in preparation for our retreat. And so I can tell you that some of the tips that I have to keep the parts from going wonky is to make sure that I don't use steam in my iron when I am pressing the pre-cut pieces. The steam actually adds water to it, and so it has more of a tendency to stretch it when it is pressed, and then it'll dry in an awkward shape. I think another way that I minimize distortion as well is to make sure that I am pressing, and so I am lifting and I am not smearing my fabric when I am ironing it. That is another fantastic way to minimize the distortion. Where I see distortion the most in my parts, and this is something that we hear from a lot of our retreat attendees, is my inability to sew a straight line. That is completely on Sometimes you're stitching away and it kind of just goes a little off, and that is absolutely fine. Sometimes, we get distracted. Sometimes the feed dogs do different things. Sometimes you're going over 6 or 8 layers of fabric, and sometimes the machine just does a little wobble. I feel like whenever I press a seam and it has a little bit of a distortion in my straight line, it does cause the parts to be a little wonky as well. I also do think that being very sensitive and knowledgeable about where your bias edges are. So we've talked about, half square triangles. That hypotenuse, that long length, is going to have a tendency to stretch a little more because it is cut on the bias edge of the fabric, as well as on your quarter square triangles. Those pieces that come down off the top are going to tend to stretch a little more just because they're on the bias edges. And so when we're sewing our PMQs and when we're providing directions, we try to lock those edges in as early as possible by attaching them to something so they stay fixed and not leaving them open. That is definitely something that'll help make your shapes go wonky. So if you guys have any suggestions, I'm going to discourage you, Tishua, from using any starches, from using any kind of seam setters. I know there's a lot of products out there right now that you spray it on, or you press a seam and you like have a little glue stick. So for pre-cuts, it's usually not recommended because those edges are so exposed. If you are going to starch, it is always recommended to starch either right as you get the yardage right off the bolt, or as you get your pieces assembled. But when you starch, you're supposed to starch them all at the same phase. At the pre-cut piece, it's too early. So I would suggest keeping all starch out of the process, keeping all steam out of the process, and trying to lock in your bias edges as early as you can in the stitching process. So Tishua, that's what I have for wonky advice. I'm sure I've got lots of folks out there that have other suggestions. And also, Tishua, for me, I'm a close enough quilter. I'm a like, can I pin my edges together and can I just make it work just to get the quilt done? And I was using the example yesterday at the retreat with one of our attendees, and I was talking about I made a quilt, and I agonized and I stressed over it, and all the points had to match, and I ran out of fabric and I had to get more. These are all common stories for quilters, right? And I made this quilt, and it is like a super cherished family quilt. We take it to all of our soccer games. We take it to the movie theaters. It's one of these things. My kids love this quilt, and nobody can tell when it is draped over you on a couch or if it's at a soccer game and it's on the ground. Nobody can tell those, but they don't care. They just love the quilt. It's pretty. It's beautiful. No one is taking out a magnifying glass. And so I feel like sometimes if we give ourselves a little grace to just be done and have a product that people are going to love, we can get there faster. Okay. All right. I'm ready for the next question. The next question comes to us from Gianna, who I know is on the meeting with us. Hello, Gianna. This is your question from San Francisco. Thank you for always including little gifts with the PMQ. How do you come up with ideas for what to include? And can we get a box of Band-Aids in the future for those days when we wish all our projects came pre-cut? Okay, so let's talk about the Band-Aids first. So Band-Aids is a fantastic idea. We used to ship Band-Aids. I think we did kind of a Lori Holt Band-Aid at one point in time. They had little boxes of Band-Aids. I know here at the retreat, we give people Band-Aids in their quilter survival kits. And so I think Band-Aids is a fantastic idea. Now, when it comes to the PMQ and when we look at gifts, we need to make sure that they're bulky, that they're generally flat, because we want to be able to ship them to you as economically as possible. And so when it comes to clue 1 and 10, we have more flexibility because those are typically bigger clues with more things inside of them. They ship a little differently. Clue 5, when we get to the gift in the middle, we try to keep it as flat as possible just to keep that shipping down because the shipping expense is quite significant these days. I love putting the idea of Band-Aids on there. I'm going to pass that off to Cheryl for my team and to Paula for my team to kind of take a look at what it would take to get Band-Aids in those boxes, because I know there are quilting themed Band-Aids and I would love to include that. Now, as for where we come up with these ideas, my team is always looking. We're always getting things from suppliers free in the mail. Hey, we've got this new rose gold pen. Hey, we have this new variegated pen. Hey, there's this new product. And so we're taking those all the time, but we would love suggestions from you. Michelle is saying needles would be a nice gift as well. We can definitely take a look at that. We just come up with ideas. We're just always searching the internet. We're always searching social media. If this is, again, an opportunity, if you guys have suggestions, we are listening. We are all ears for that. All right. Thanks so much for your question, Jana. I appreciate it. Next up, we have a question from Lori Kale. What is the best way to square up a large quilt? Okay, so this one's an interesting question. So what this means is, so Lori has a quilt, and so usually before you apply the big thick borders around the outside, you want to square up the middle. And so that's just an opportunity to help with the quilting process in the second phase. When you actually get to actually making a sandwich and quilting it, you like to square it up and then apply your borders. And so to squaring it up, there's a lot of different ways to do this. I would love to solicit ideas from you, but the way that I've usually been trained and thought and have used is to actually put it on a surface, put it on a very, very big surface that you can ideally pin into or hook into. And what you want to do is, this is where you're going to add the moisture, and you want to get your quilt to the square dimensions that you want it to be. I am not a fan of stretching the quilt once it's sewn together. I usually kind of accommodate for those things in the big borders, but you want to make it wet. You want to put it to the dimension you want, and then you want to let it dry. That is one way. The other way is to actually cut it. So I know that this is to square it up. There's a whole bunch of YouTube videos on this, you guys, so they can actually show you visuals on how to do this. But you can get your cutting mat, you get the longest ruler you have, and it'll teach you ways in which to measure it, so that way you're actually cutting it rather than using a blocking method that is akin to a knit or a crochet, which is the first method. That you actually will come up with ways in which you're going to measure the middle, the top, and the bottom, and you're going to find the smallest dimension, and then you're going to square it up on one side and square it up on the other. Now, once you get to a large quilt, this is where it gets challenging, because you're going to be bigger than your average cutting mat and ruler that you have at your house. And so this is something that if it is truly important to you and you want to square up your large quilt, I would ask your long armor. Your long armor has the infrastructure and has the equipment to be able to square up large quilts for you. And they'll be able to do it effectively, and then be able to actually make your quilt, and it'll be nice and square when all is said and done. Okay. I feel like, Lori, that was most of the answer to your question, but I would love it if you guys were able to put comments in on how you guys square up your largest quilts. Do you wait to put the borders on? Do you use a blocking method, or do you use the squaring method with the measurements? Liz Dubois is saying she would like to see machine quilting stuff, swabs, lens cloth, tweezers, etc. Yeah, that's a fantastic idea too. We're always on the lookout for mini sewing kits that aren't the kind that we used to get in hotels. That was kind of the little guys. We're always looking for things that are functional and fun. I know that Paula has it on her list. She wants to eventually get a Cotton Cuts branded seam ripper. So we're sourcing that. We're trying to find things that are good quality, but also good price. All right. So they're coming outside to take a photo of me now. All right. Fantastic. Yeah, there's Paula. She's saying yes on the seam ripper. All right, so next question comes to us from Sarah from Portland, Oregon. Thank you for your question, Sarah. What's your favorite tip for staying accurate when piecing? Okay, so we were talking about this just last night in the room, and when we actually are sewing, many of us that come from garments and try to go into quilting are used to a different seam allowance. And so we're used to 5/8 or 3/8 of an inch. And we're used to using the lines on our plate, on our sewing machine plate, to tell us what our seam allowance should be. But once you move into quilting, it's a very different beast, because in order to get that 1/4 inch, to me, the biggest game changer for me to get consistent 1/4 inch seams was getting a 1/4 inch quilting foot. And this is a different presser foot that goes onto your machine, and it has the 1/4 inch that's needed to be consistent and accurate. Now, it's not very expensive. This is one of these things you can find on Amazon pretty cheaply. But for me, it was a big game changer. And I remember telling my husband about this, and he's like, well, you got to have the right tool for the job, right? And so this is the right tool for the job, is to make sure that you have a good seam allowance that comes from your presser foot. Now, if you are just starting out and you want to stay accurate with that seam allowance, so for me, I'm saying accuracy in your seam allowance is going to be accuracy in piecing, is to we'll use the painter's tape method, but they have a lot of different options for ways in which you can actually put tape over your sewing machine. So rather than waiting for it to get to the pointed stitching, waiting for it to get to the presser foot to be able to keep your 1/4 inch, you actually run some sort of visual indicator. They have lasers that do this now. There's a lot of different ways in which you can actually make sure the fabric that you're feeding into the machine stays at a 1/4 inch consistently. Because going back to my point where it kind of waves and you have to get it back on track, you're having to make that decision sometimes very late if it gets to the presser foot. But adding just tape, adding a visual indicator, I am going to tell you from firsthand experience, the first time I did this, I used too strong of a tape. And I needed to get in my little box on my sewing machine to get my, presser feet and all the things out. And I had to take the tape off. So definitely use something that you can put on and take off. I use this with kids all the time. I used it with my boys to teach them how to sew. I used it with all the kids we taught to sew in our studio in the shop. Is you just get that piece of painter's tape and it helps keep everything aligned because you can see it coming before the point at which it's stitched together. So that's my favorite tip for staying accurate. How do you guys stay accurate for piecing? I would love to see what you guys think. Savannah Stillman is saying, may I suggest an ergonomic design option for the seam rippers? You get them in the future. Some of us did silly things with our hands in our youth. Yes. So I actually, I have my favorite seam ripper has a good amount of weight. It has a good amount of distribution in it. The seam rippers, I'm going to pause for a minute on this. So I realized that for 28 years of the 30 years I've been quilting, I used a seam ripper incorrectly. I actually used it and I would pick out the seams. And it wasn't until the past year or two I realized that if I rotate it over and keep the long side outside and run it between the seams, I can just go like this. And it actually takes out all those stitches in one fell swoop. And so proper use of a seam ripper, I feel like this is a video Dominic should do for us, is that there's the way that I used to do, which is, you would take the fabric and pull it apart and you pull out the seams and pull it apart a little more. But if you actually just rotate it, and you can just zip through all those seams and just break them up so quickly and easily. It was a bonkers. I used to hate you'd have to pick out 2 stitches at a time and pull out 2 stitches at a time, but just rotate it, bam, they're all gone. So Savannah, we're going to put that on the requirements for Paula and Cheryl as they look at seam rippers for us. All right. So Sarah, I hope that answers your question. I hope to see lots of accurate. Yes. A 1/4-inch machine foot. Yes. Dominic is a fantastic teacher. We will have him do some videos in his days off coming up. All right, let's see here. So Rebecca Martinez from Phoenix, Arizona. What's my favorite fabric line right now? Oh gosh. Okay. So Rebecca, this is actually, I saw this question ahead of time and I actually kind of struggle with what's my favorite fabric line right now because they come out so quickly. They've got this and then they've got this and they've got this and they've got this. And so for me, there's all these new designs. Jason, come on over. I'm going to get Jason to come over and say hi to you guys. So Jason is my retreats director. He is helping us execute all of this. And he just happened to walk through the courtyard. Jason, hello, Jason. How are you?
Hello, good. How are you? Good morning.
Did you get a good night's sleep?
I did. It was nice.
So you're going to help me with this question. What's your favorite fabric line right now?
I am really into the Juicy Juice 40. It is rainbow, and I always tell people rainbow is my favorite color.
Yes.
It is everything I want from a fabric line. It's geometrics, it's graphic, it's bold, it's really pretty, and there's so much you can do with that collection.
That is a lovely collection. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I love 40. And it's a big collection. Yeah. And I feel like oftentimes we see collections now, they're getting smaller, but 40, he went all out. It has a ton of fabrics in that. Yes. Yeah. Do you have a favorite fabric manufacturer?
I tend to lean towards a lot of free spirit designers. I like a Tula. I like a Cave. I also like Tim Holtz. I love that Giuseppe has just moved to free spirit. So a lot of my favorite designers are on free spirit.
Yes, I'm a big fan. I like free spirit and Andover. I think
Andover
those are my
great.
two favorites.
Great.
Yeah, those are my two favorites. And I feel like, Moda is kind of just a staple there. And I like a lot of the Moda basics. Like if I'm going to do a solid, I want it to be a Bella or a Grunge.
Yes,
I feel like their basics are the top
Grunge
of the,
Grunge is the way to go for a blender for me 100% of the time.
Yes, fantastic. Because I don't like the white on whites. And I don't like a pure solid sometimes either.
Yeah. I like Grunge. The texture you get from Grunge.
Yes. Yeah. And so Michelle's saying Tula Gray work. You were just talking about that the other day.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
It's beautiful. It's like a follow-up to Line Work, which was one of my favorite collections of Tulas of all time. So super excited to see what people are creating with that collection.
Yes, it is so great. It's so great. And so there's Dannon.
Oh, hey, Dannon.
Yeah. All right. So are you all ready to go?
I'm ready.
Yeah. So the two of us, we're putting on the live show for the PMQ today. And we are wine connoisseurs. We are vineyard owners today.
Yeah, we own a vineyard.
Yes.
I have my little...
Your little... Yes, denim. Yes.
Denim on denim with a vest, working out in the vineyard.
Yes. All right. All right. So is there
Yeah.
anything else you would love to say
No,
to these lovely
just
folks?
love to
Yes.
see you guys. Would love to see you at one of our retreats coming up soon. We're going to be announcing dates for 2026. So would love to have you join us. It's a lot of fun, everyone. So can't wait to see you
Yes.
here at one of them.
Woohoo. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you,
see
sir.
ya.
All right. He's going to go get everything set up for us. So that way we can just pop on over. So my favorite fabric line. So I would say I like the basics. There's so many new collections that keep coming out. Yes, I love the 40s. I love all the Allison Glass. There's a lot of fun things that are out there right now. But I think my favorite fabric lines, I like the ones that are tried and true. I like the grunges. I like a lot of the things that I can get all the time. Those make me happiest. All right. Let's see here. Next question. Michelle Foster is asking from Denver, Colorado. What's my favorite part of the quilting process? Cutting, piecing, or quilting? Okay, so this is an easy one for me. I love the piecing. The cutting takes a lot of work because I am an optimized cutter, and so I have the pattern instructions, and I'm always thinking about how to cut it better, faster, stronger, more efficiently, more layers at a time. I'm doing a lot of excessive calculations in the cutting process. That's on me. That's one of my vices, but I know I am not alone in that. I like to use every last single inch of fabric, and I like to use it, and I like to cut it as quickly as possible. And so if one cut will cut 3 parts, I am definitely doing that. So that is, to me, a lot of brain power, but it's also very exhausting. I like piecing. I like seeing everything come together in a geometric fashion. I like seeing all the pretty parts come together. I like laying it out on the ground and being able to think, oh, if I turn this, it gets better. And if I turn this, and if I move this color, I like that part of the process. I like the piecing, and I like the fact that it's finished. Now, I am not a quilting person. We were talking about this again yesterday. Having to maneuver this giant quilt and the arm workout that it is, trying to get it through the throat on the machine and quilting at home, that is not my favorite part. And I feel like I put more pressure on me when I'm quilting it for it to be perfect than I do on the piecing, because I think everyone's going to get out a magnifying glass and see how my 1 inch off the ditch went 1 1/4 inch off the ditch instead of 1 inch. And so I don't like the quilting process at all, which is why I'm a quilt top collector. I have a lot of quilt tops that are unfinished. And so a couple times a year, I just take them all to the long armor and let them deal with it, because I don't find joy in that. And if I'm going to spend this amount of time on a hobby, I want to make sure that I am enjoying it. And the quilting is not part that I find joy in. So for me, my favorite part is definitely the piecing process, but I know everyone enjoys different parts of the process for different reasons. But I think my love of piecing is probably why Cotton Cuts has moved into the company it is, because we can focus on piecing here. We can focus on finishing quilt tops, and we can actually get these projects done with the way we have the company. Josie B says she loves Three Sisters fabrics and anything paisley or soft colors. Yeah, soft colors are having a moment. It is definitely moving away from the super brights into the soft, more muted colors. We're even seeing that here. The colorway that everyone loved the most is Blush Noir. It's very navy and very soft colors in that complement the navy. It's a really beautiful colorway. DFD loves grunge. Quilt tops make good shower curtains. Michelle Showalter, that is a fascinating idea. I feel like if you got that plastic liner on the inside, quilt tops could make good shower curtains. You just roll over the edges and done. Terry's a quilt top collector as well. I'm glad that I know I am not alone in that. Jennifer Lopez from Miami, Florida asks, I'm wondering, is this J-Lo? Does J-Lo currently live in Miami? I have no idea. Anyways, Jennifer Lopez from Miami, Florida asks, can we ever expect a holiday-themed PMQ? Well, that's a fun, timely question, because when we look at island hopping, when we look at the next Mystery 50 design, it is all holiday themed. Every store that's participating is creating this design with holiday fabrics. Now, it doesn't, holiday, I want to be clear, you guys, does not have to mean Christmas, and it does not have to mean Thanksgiving. There are lots of holidays throughout the year. So you're going to see lots of quilt top designs that are Valentine's Day, that are 4th of July, that are Easter, that are St. Patrick's Day, and also designs that read as holiday. So it doesn't necessarily have to be Christmas in Christmas prints with all the novelties. It could be a red and a green. It could also be a winter as holiday, right? So when we are thinking about the next one, it is all going to be holiday themed. I can tell you for us, we're looking at 5 colorways for 5 different holidays. And so we're still in the process of finalizing our fabric orders for that, but you're going to see that coming from us soon. So Jennifer, you don't have to wait very far. Just wait 3 weeks and you're going to see a ton of holiday themed. Well, that's actually Mystery 50, but we always have a holiday themed kind of Christmas or Halloween or sometimes patriotic 4th of July for our PMQs as well. So those are always kind of staples that we have all the time, because I know people like making those, but you don't like making those all the time. So we bring those in every now and then. Let's see here. Oh, we should have asked this question when Jason was here. From Amanda Johnson in Chicago, Illinois. Will there ever be a retreat on a cruise ship? Asking for a friend. Okay, so we should have asked that when Jason was here. So I think we can, I'm not going to say no. I will say probably not within the next year or so. But I mean, you guys are loving these so much. The sky is the limit at this point. And so we'll see. We've got kind of 4 cities picked for next year, and we're probably going to get to 6 for next year. So Jason and I are working on what the second half of the year is going to look like. But I would say not for 2026, but there is an option for 2027 for that. So stay tuned. Let's see here. Kevin Rodriguez is asking from Atlanta, Georgia. What's one thing quilters would be surprised to learn about you? Okay, so one thing quilters, so I'm pretty much an open book. So I have sewn a lot. Oh, I would say maybe, we were talking about this early on is I used to write. So I was a budget quilter when I was younger, right? There was no local quilt shops. We were Hancock Fabrics. And we were Hancock Fabrics and we were House of Fabrics back in the day. It was definitely House of Fabrics. And so, I used to have to get fabric at Walmart just because we didn't have access to it anywhere. And I sewed a lot of my first quilts were fabric from Walmart. And so I would say, a lot of people consider that kind of, oh, you use fabrics from Walmart. But it's one of those things. It was what I could afford. I was creating, I was making quilts. And here I am, 30, 35 years later, and I still have some of these quilts that are made with Walmart fabric. Now, are they as bright and vibrant and color fast and all the things that we expect from designer fabrics? No, but at the time I used what I could afford in order to do something that I loved. And so that's why I am not a big fan of the quilt police that are saying you can only get fabric at a certain location. I'm always a big fan of get fabric that you can afford, that makes you joyful and makes you happy, and just quilt and just sew, because just because you can't afford it today doesn't mean you won't be able to afford it in the future. And I am a big fan of learning and just creating art with what we have. And so I would say, yes, I will admit here that I have used Walmart fabric. And I have also gone to the TJ Maxx's of the world to get the sheets for the backing of my quilts, because, getting 3-4 yards of relatively expensive fabric that wasn't on sale, it was just outside of my budget. I was 16, 17, 18 years old, right? I had my job at Sonic. I wanted to quilt. And so I put a lot of sheets on the back. And I know that, nowadays there's all these rules about when you put sheets on and thread count and all those things. But when I was younger, right, that was just what I could afford. And it was pretty and it was available. And so I used it. And so, I feel like anytime I see anyone talking about, shameful to buy fabric at these places, like I've done that before. And, it was fun and it was awesome and they still exist. And so I feel like breaking down those barriers would be awesome. And we're just appreciating the design and the creativity that we're all making. Okay. I think we're going to have one last, let's see here. One last question. Oh, yeah, Savannah, rules are made up. And Anne, use Walmart fabric and they work well. Hey, I kind of like the banner behind me moving. It feels like I'm kind of moving on a camera. And so you guys, I think, use what works, use what's affordable to you. Janice says she got scolded by her long armor friend when I told her how many tops I have finished, but I don't have quilts for 5 important people in my life. Since I want them to fight over the design and already have 3 Wild West PMQs, I bought 2 more in a box and will finally get them to the long arm. She got all 5. Yes. I feel like anytime I give them my long armor, it's like, right. And so it's just the way it is, right? That's their job. That's their job is to help finish those quilts so that way they can actually become heirlooms and things we like. It is a little breezy here today. That is for sure. So many of my early quilts have sheets on the back. Yes. And they're totally fine. And that's where you can bring in a flannel sheet and it feels fun and it feels comfortable. All right. So this question from Maria Garcia in San Diego, California. This one's fun. If your stash caught on fire, what would you try to save first? Okay, so I think this. I'm going to give you guys a minute because this is a fun question. If your stash caught on fire, what would you save first? Okay, so I'm trying to think of the current disaster that is my sewing room and all the things that are strewn about. What would I save first. So, okay, I'm going to talk this out a little bit, and this is real. Let's see here. Nicole says she loves to leave her long arm or room to improve her quilts. I feel like that is their job too, right? You're paying them to hide and fix all the mistakes. Anne is saying she has 2 rubber tubs full of finished tops. I feel that, Anne, in my core. All right, so I'm gonna think like, so there's some things that like I would like if I've got a vintage sewing machine. I feel like that's probably gonna survive the fire. It might need some repair. I would say, what fabrics would I grab first? I think I have some old Tula Pink that is, in some of these groups at like the $100 for a quarter yard. I feel like that might be, but it'd be hard to find because it's mixed in with everything else. I feel like maybe some of my early patterns that are irreplaceable, like things that I acquired early on. I don't have a lot of quilts in there. I don't keep a lot of quilts in my room, so I wouldn't necessarily be like grabbing quilts to save. I don't know. This is a hard question. What would you guys save if your stash caught on fire? And what would you try to save first? I feel like the vintage Tula Pink would definitely come. And then, yeah. So I've hit on it. So I have, whenever I travel, right, I always get fabric that's native to wherever I'm traveling. So I showed you guys all of the fabrics I got when I was in Hawaii. And then I have all the fabrics that I got when I was in Alaska. And whenever I travel places, I always try to get fabrics from wherever I am at, just as a memento of that trip. And so I feel like they're all together. That is definitely I would save if my stash was on fire. Lori Kayla is saying she would save her new machine and any pre-cuts that are unopened. Yeah, if you've got a new expensive machine, that's definitely something that you would want to save as well. Machine, let's see here, projects in plastic boxes, and I'd grab as many as I can. Some old fabric that was grandma's that would probably try to save first for sentimental reasons. Yeah, Erin, that is fantastic because those are definitely irreplaceable. Savannah is saying Anna Green Gables fabrics if my stash caught on fire. I have too many vintage patterns that I would also try to save. Feel that, yes. Jana says if her stash is on fire, then her whole house is ablaze and better just get the dog and run. Gail is saying she'd rescue her Henry Glass Scarlet Days and Nights. So Terry is saying she would get her vintage Singer. Yeah, I feel like the metal would survive maybe, but everything else would be damaged. And her favorite fabrics are in one box. That is a fantastic insurance and policy advice, Terry, is to actually just put all your favorite fabrics in one box for the event that your stash might go on fire. And then Deb Jean is saying her new and old machines. Okay, that was a fun question, you guys. Oh my gosh. Lenora is saying she would save her mother's 1972 Bernina sewing machine and fabric not in waterproof boxes. Yes, I feel that too. Oh my gosh, you guys, we have so many questions here. Maybe we'll do this again. This is a lot of fun. I love hearing questions that you guys have to ask. Hello, Crystal Foster. How are you? We are missing you here for sure. Okay. That is it for me, gang. So for hanging out with me to the end of the show, we have a question for a giveaway for you guys. So if you've been with me to the end of the show, we're only on Facebook and on YouTube today, not on Instagram. But if you've been with me to the end of the show, you're going to answer this question wherever you find it. And we'll pick one lucky winner to get a $25 gift card to the Cotton Cut Shop, which is perfect timing because we're about to start signing up for the next Mystery 5. Oh, you can definitely use it for that. Let's see here. So if you could ask any famous quilter, past or present, one question, who would it be and what would you ask them? I always love these questions. If you could save 3 things, take 3 things to an island, what would you take? If you could, talk to a famous person, dead or alive. So if you could talk to a famous quilter, past or present, one question, who would it be and what would you ask them? So I feel like, I have a lot of access to the people that are alive today, but like Nancy Zeman, she did so many crazy, quirky, fun things early in the quilting world. And she was such a supporter of public access television. And I mean, she got Tula Pink on her start. I feel like Nancy would be the one that I would just want to talk to. I don't know if I would ask one specific question. I'm sure it'd be some question that would lead to an entire conversation, but she's one that she's done this for so long. She's influenced so many people that we hold in high regard today. Eleanor Burns. Yeah, I feel like that's another fantastic one as well. Okay. Let's see here, guys. So go ahead and answer that question wherever you find this video. I'm going to head inside. It is getting chilly out here. It is a little misty, which of course is great environment for growing wine grapes. Not such great environment for hosting a computer and a live stream show. So go ahead and answer that question. We'll pick one lucky winner. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will have another show next week. I will be back in the shop and we will get all the updates of all the things that are happening and all the things that are shipping. And we're going to give you tons of information about this retreat. Terry Cooper is saying Cora Yoder, and I would ask her what her favorite pattern is. That would probably be an extended conversation, Terry, no doubt. All right, that is it for me, gang. Everyone go have a fantastic weekend sewing. We can't wait to see what you guys are able to create this weekend. We will see you next week. Thank you so much, and bye now. And cut. Thank you so much for watching our video. We have so much fun making these, and we hope that you were both delighted and inspired by what you just watched. This video was sponsored by Cotton Cuts. Cotton Cuts is your one stop for all the best fabric and thread memberships. Love fabric? We've got you covered. Love thread? We've got you covered. We get that no two quilters are cut from the same cloth, which is why our memberships are as unique as you. We also have the largest block of the month in the world. Over 4,000 detectives solve our puzzle mystery quilts every year, and you can join them. Simply go to cottoncuts.com to learn more about all the awesome and fun things that we're doing. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to make sure you get all of our new fresh content every time it comes out. Thank you so much. Happy sewing enthusiasts, and we will see you soon. Bye now.